Hello.
Hi.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. We are back after a multi-month hiatus from these Monday episodes where we answer your questions. We hope we remember how to do this. We never stop streaming on Wednesdays, but this is different. There's not time to ramble here. So we are answering a question from somebody who wants new things out of their relationship than they once did, and they've got feelings about it. Real quick, before we get to that question, we need Jill's questions. If you have a question you'd like us to answer about your own relationship, about a concept in kink, whatever, please send us those questions through our contact link. It's literally labeled Ask Your Questions, and we have it down below, or if you happen upon our website, you'll find it there. But the link is down below, so just use that and please send us your questions because we want more of them for these episodes. Okay, into the question. I'm a poly woman with 2 long-term partners at the moment. My boyfriend of 6 years and I have a more or less vanilla relationship with a dash of primal play, and lately I've been thinking about upgrading into a more kinky dynamic. I mostly identify as dominant, and I have topped my boyfriend a couple of times with rope and impact in the early years. To me, that didn't match with the type of connection we have, so we decided not to pursue kink together. Although submission feels completely unlike me, I feel more and more desire for a dynamic with him as a caregiver who makes the decisions for me. Our sex life is amazing, and there are quite a few behaviors that would be sexy to me if they were part of a dynamic. For example, sometimes when I'm at his place, I ask him to pick my panties. That could be a daily thing, even when we're apart. I also like to crawl into his lap and snuggle. Snuggling like that turns us both on. On the other hand, he is very primal, and I love it when he grabs and holds me or bites me during sex. I can't wrap my head around how these things go together. What do I do? It feels like such a bold idea to spring on him. Is it even necessary to create a dynamic considering I'm very happy with our current sex life? Should I just leave it as it is? Wrapping my head around possibly, air quotes, submitting is a whole other issue, but perhaps it just takes time to change my own belief that it doesn't suit me at all.
It sounds like somebody needs to sit down, have a cup of coffee, and a conversation.
Yeah, the most basic and first answer is everything you have just said here, please say to your partner.
Right.
They need to know these things. So that's the obvious. Let's dive into some of the thoughts you're having and some of the hesitation that you have. There is nothing that says that outside of your sexual dynamic, you can't, assuming your partner is willing, crawl into his lap and snuggle or do some things he tells you to do. There's no rule that says if you do this kind of sexual play or this kind of dynamic, you can't do these other things as well. It does, I think, take getting your mind wrapped around it, though.
Because I haven't seen the rule book yet.
No, and I would not believe the rule book. I would throw that out. So I also think it's possible that because you have a very set idea, y'all both have a very set way of experiencing your relationship, it may even be hard for you to imagine that he might want something else. You know, these could be things that have been on his mind, maybe not in the exact same way, but of trying different things. And, you know, having the conversation is what allows you to have that back and forth and to, you know, see what he wants, see what he's willing to do. It could be that he's got some ideas you haven't even thought of, and you're like, hey, wait, that sounds kind of good. So, you know.
Meeting of the minds.
Absolutely. The whether you should pursue this, you know, because you're happy with your sex life, I think there's a false dichotomy there. Having other desires does not mean that you are somehow unhappy with your current sex life. It's not a this or that. It's an and. It's a, I like this and I like that.
and you know, it's one of those things too with kink. Well, if you try it and see if you like it, sometimes try it twice, you know, to see if you like it and make a decision based on that. You know, sometimes you can't make a educated decision unless you try something.
Right. And sometimes you try it and immediately know that you don't like that. And that's good information to have. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean that your desires are somehow wrong or you got it wrong. It could be, if you find that out after you try something, that you're chasing a feeling and you thought that feeling was tied up in that activity. And there are other ways to achieve the feeling. I feel like I understand a little bit of the dynamics you're talking about, because to a certain extent we have very similar dynamics. JB is a daddy dom. He's very much into, here, come snuggle with me. Yes, I will tell you what to do. I will take care of you in that caregiver way. But then also, he absolutely has the ability to pin me down and get primal. They don't usually happen at the same time or within a singular scene. It's different parts of our day and different parts of our mood and what's going on in our life.
The shirt says sadistic daddy. The two can go hand in hand.
We all contain multitudes, and our kink gets to contain multitudes. So there's no should. Should you leave it alone? Should you, feel bad that somehow, like you're implying that what you do is not somehow enough? Air quote that enough, right? That's very subjective. No, you are comfortable with this person. You are, from whatever avenue, whether it's, stuff you're watching, communities you're a part of, things you're reading, whatever, you are open to these different ways to experience kink, and it's on your mind. So, it makes sense that you could go, yeah, this is really good, and I'm glad we do this. And, oh, we tried that thing several years ago, and that didn't work. A fun fact, there's nothing wrong with retrying if there's any interest from both of you. Just because something didn't work a few years ago doesn't mean it can't work now, because you've grown in your relationship and your trust, and maybe your understanding of kink has broadened. And there are layers to all of it. Just because you did something a certain way a few years ago doesn't mean you couldn't explore the concept, but just try different things as well. So, yeah, there's no should you or, what does it say about you? No, nope. It's a matter of coming together with your partner to figure out y'all's Venn diagram, things you want, things your partner wants, where they overlap, and then trying things out. Now, the other part is wrapping your head around submission is a completely other issue. Like, because you said at the top, you identify more as a dominant. We contain multitudes. Let me say that again. There are different forms of submission. So to the extent that you can, figure out what that means to you, what you think submission is, and what in that belief about submission does not appeal to you and what does appeal to you. Because for many people, submission, air quote that, is a lot of kneeling and yes, sir, ma'am, otherwise, and, being very modest or very subservient or very quiet and demure. I am here to tell you, you can be a goblin and a submissive.
Yep. Chaos goblin at that.
Proudly. So it is entirely possible that what you want is somebody who takes care of you without telling you what to do out of very specific parameters. It's also entirely possible that with one partner, you would allow a lot more dominance than you might with any other partner. That is also valid. But when you start questioning, your identity because you saw yourself in one way and now you're like, wait, I'm having these thoughts and these urges and these desires, and it feels like a conflict, one of many things you can do is figure out what you think that means and then figure out within it what you don't like about it. Because it is very possible you could be like, yeah, I don't want to be told what to do out of nowhere, or I don't want these kinds of rules, and that I don't like that. You can say no to all of those things that you don't like and still be submissive if that even works for you. If you're willing to test it out and try it, do that. If you're not willing, if it feels too uncomfortable, fucking don't. No requirement just because a passing desire came to you that you have to go test it out and see if you enjoy it. Not at all. Not at all. Some things get to stay fantasy. Some things maybe you do once in a scene to see, do I even like this? There are so many options.
True.
Anything you would add?
No.
Let's go back to the top. Talk to your partner. Literally just send them what you sent to us and go,
yeah, you can almost go word for word what you've written here.
Exactly. What do you think about this? And go from there, It's entirely possible that it might not be a thing they've even considered before, but they're still like, actually, that's interesting. Actually, I'm down to experiment. You'll never know if you don't talk to them.
Exactly.
So, that is it. So that's it from us. Other than everybody else who was like yelling at your screen, you have to talk to your partner. What else would you add? Have you been through something like this where you had one set of like dynamics and ways of being with a partner, but wanted to try things that felt completely out of your comfort zone? How did that go? How did the conversation go? What did you learn about yourself? Submissives out there, how have you redefined submission for yourself? What rules have you tossed to the side because you went, that don't work for me? Who else out there is a chaos goblin of a submissive? I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. Leave all of that down in the comments below. We would love to hear from you. Also, please send us your questions so we can do more of these videos. If you enjoy this, we love a thumbs up. If you like it enough to come back for more, please consider subscribing.
And go ahead and ring the notification bell to get updates and new content.
As always, just do what Daddy says. I don't care how you identify in kink. Life is easier when you just do what the daddy says, okay? That it happens to be my daddy is just a perk. I'm just saying. Anyway. If you really like what we do, want to help us do more of it and get extra content plus access to our Discord server, you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/KaylaLords, or the link is down below.